look at how the market's been on a tear in anticipation, by the way, of the Trump win. Why? Because, well, they were looking more at prediction markets than they were the polls of which were incredibly wrong. And one of the beneficiaries of that, of course, has been Bitcoin. Did you see Bitcoin hit 100K? Just amazing, right? 100K on Bitcoin. And I told you, actually, Rob and I wrote this at 76research.com. We put a note out in September when it was 65,000. We said, hey, you know what? If you have a little extra money that you don't mind losing, because it's kind of a gamble, this is volatile, like Wild West stuff, but you might want to think about this, because if Trump wins, whoo, it's going to be a party, right? And now we have 100K on Bitcoin. It was actually up just like 103 and change overnight. But the reason for that is, because there's this excitement, this amazing excitement. So I wanted to talk to a Bitcoin miner about this. I called my friend Sam Tabar, who is the CEO of a Bitcoin mining company, Bit Digital, to kind of explain it all. And, he said he knew right away, as soon as Donald Trump won, the thing was just going to take off.
It was inevitable as soon as Trump was elected president. What he did basically was unleash the crypto markets, including Bitcoin, including Ethereum, because the previous administration was very hostile to the entire crypto industry. And we had suffered on many great ways. I can get into some certain examples over the past 4 years. And with a very hostile SEC and certain politicians in the Biden administration, we're now seeing the page turn over. The pendulum is being swung the other way, with people who are much more friendly towards innovation, technology, capitalism. And we see that with Trump. And when that happened, when he was confirmed to be president-elect, the crypto markets and the technology markets just unleashed. And we see that.
It was so interesting, right? Because you had the polls doing one thing, and then you had betting markets like Polymarket showing you something else entirely. And the betting markets were pretty confident that Donald Trump was going to win. It was just fascinating in and of itself, right? The spread, the difference between the two. And I think that was actually lending support to the overall markets. And the markets, I think, also were anticipating that it was going to be a Trump win, which would be a boom to capital markets and, of course, to crypto markets, too. So we've been watching this steady rise up. I remember talking to you back in September, and that was, I want to say Bitcoin was around 64,000 at that point. Now we're looking at upwards of around 100,000. Similar story in terms of Ethereum. Ethereum has just had this wild ride as well. Up and away. We can get to where it's going in a minute, but first, you mentioned something that I'm going to drill down on, because you said it's a different environment now. I mean, what has the environment been like? We know, like, for example, it was bad in China, right? China kicked out all the Bitcoin miners. I know that you guys had some operations there. You relocated them to the States, but have you run into other issues here?
Absolutely. We and my peers in the sector received letters from Senator Warren asking us many questions about our use of energy. And they were very long and intrusive questions. We had to spend a lot of time answering those questions. It was a very thankless task. And also with respect to,
because she was worried that you were a drain on the grid. And I know the counter to that is actually you can turn your machines on and off, and you absorb a lot of the excess energy, right, during times that it needs to be absorbed, so that you stabilize the grid.
We actually stabilize the grid. And also, for example, in our fleet, over 90% of our fleet is carbon free. That's not carbon neutral, which is very different. Carbon free. Carbon neutrality is when you use bad sources of energy and buy certificates to offset damage. So we're carbon free. We're actually using renewables, hydro, geothermal.
But she was in there anyway. She wanted to make sure.
Exactly.
What else happened?
Well, I mean, it was also sometimes difficult to get a bank accounts. Even personally, as CEO of Bit Digital, I was, I was onboarding my own personal banking situation, and as soon as they found out I was CEO of a crypto company, they said, "Sorry, we can't onboard." Yeah.
Are you,
And
whoa, because so Mark Andreessen brought this up the other day with Joe Rogan, and he said that there were like 30 crypto, actually, no, I think this was the Coinbase CEO who said he knew of 30 people, or maybe it was Elon Musk. Somebody was talking about 30 people that had been debanked. I've talked to friends since that aren't in the crypto sector, but are in the political sphere. They went through similar things. You're telling me that you couldn't get a bank account, at least at the first bank you went to?
I couldn't get, there were two banks that would not allow me to open up a bank account. And I have significant assets. They wouldn't allow it as soon as they found out that I was CEO of a Bitcoin mining company.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Yeah, that
gosh.
happened. It's real. That's not a conspiracy theory. I personally had that happen to me.
Whoa. So, I mean, that's a whole other thing, right? Because that's sort of big government coming in and saying, we don't like this. We don't like you. We're not going to give you access to basic necessities like a bank
It's
account.
basically it was chokehold on the crypto industry. They were trying. It was Operation Choke Point. It's called, where they were trying to choke everybody in the sector out slowly but surely. We had to, like I said, over the past 4 years, it's been very difficult. We really welcome the new administration.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. It's a new day, new ball game, new person in charge, surrounded by like a lot of smart people in tech, which is terrific. I mean, I look at this and say, you're either embracing the future, and I know a lot of people, including a lot of viewers that are watching right now, are like, no, I don't like this like crypto thing, and there's a lot of worries. And I would just say, look, we're moving forward here, and you kind of want to be front and center and own this space. To me, anyway, as a country, as opposed to allow others. I mean, I have no interest, shall we say, Sam, in becoming Europe. And we all know what Europe has done to crypto companies, and frankly, China too.
Yeah, I mean, if you even also other technology sectors, for example, AI, Europe created a bunch of rules about AI technology before they even had AI companies. Now it's basically impossible to launch an AI company in Europe as a result of an incredible amount of regulation that was caused by bureaucrats in Europe. And Europe is now known as just bureaucracy, not technology.
Yeah.
And the US was on its way towards that situation, that reality. And thank goodness there's a course correction now with respect to the upcoming Department of Governmental Efficiency, otherwise Doge, that's being headed by Elon Musk and others. So it's really important, and I think what happened here is really a sea change in terms of the direction that the United States was going. Because if it went towards the way of Europe, the tech sector and all innovations would have been choked out.
My gosh. My gosh. All right. So Bitcoin, 100K and climbing. I think it's like 103 at last check. You mine it, right? Like you mine it, and then you do something really special with it, and we'll get to that in a second. But what's it like mining this? How much do you mine? Like how many computers are running? Give me a sense of what that business is.
Yeah, we have tens of thousands of computers in a fleet that spans across the United States, Iceland, and some parts of Canada. And what we do is these computers are solving very complicated mathematical equations to earn a Bitcoin. And we've earned about 7,000 Bitcoins since we started our Bitcoin mining operation.
Mm-hmm.
But we do something very different at Bit Digital. We have about 27,000 Ethereums in our on our balance sheet, and we're one of, if not the largest, one of the largest proxies for ETH in the capital markets. So if people wish to express their belief in Ethereum, they tend to buy our ticker, similar to how people buy MicroStrategy for Bitcoin. People are buying Bit Digital for Ethereum, and we're one of the only players that can actually do that.
So, Michael Saylor was on the program the other day, and he kind of walked us through some of the things that they're doing, which are incredibly innovative. And I know you guys are doing that with Ethereum. Before we get to that, let's back up for a second. What is Ethereum? How is it different than Bitcoin?
But Bitcoin is basically digital gold. It's a store of value. That's all it is. And it's very simple because that's all it is. Ethereum is a little bit more sophisticated in the sense that it's a powerful global system where people are running programs and can move money and create new kinds of online services without the need of a middleman. You could basically program if then statements to move money without a middleman. That's why it's a big threat to the financial institution. Ethereum moves money and moves value without needing a middleman. I
Okay,
could
give me an
provide an example.
example. Give me an example. Because you're a former lawyer, you were at Skadden Arps, you've written lots of contracts, you've worked in the financial sector. Now you look at Ethereum. Give me an example of how Ethereum could basically make a lot of things, shall we say, obsolete.
Sure. So you mentioned contracts. So imagine I had a contract with you, and the contract says, as soon as I raise $1 million for a film that I'd like to make, you will match that. You will give me $1 million. So
Mhm.
what do I need to make that happen? I have to hire a lawyer. I have to hire an escrow agent. There has to be two bank accounts. That's a lot of people and a lot of institutions already just to execute on that contract. What does Ethereum do? Ethereum has something called smart contracts where you can simply program an if then statement. So if I raise $1 million for my film, automatically $1 million from your account comes to me automatically. No middleman, no contracts, no bank accounts, no escrow agents. You remove all of those middlemen, all that friction, and that's the power of Ethereum. So
Okay,
Bitcoin, just a,
go
just a
ahead.
spur of and Ethereum is a programmatic language where you could exchange value with no middlemen.
So I'm just thinking of how that could be applied and how we've even seen it be applied. I'm going to give Polymarket as an example because they were using Ethereum blockchain in order to, like you said, okay, I believe Donald Trump's going to win the presidency and I'm going to put a trade on that. And they were like somehow registering these trades on Ethereum and then using stable coins to settle them out. Could that actually, like, if you really think about it, could that actually be the wave of the future in terms of trading and the stock market?
Absolutely.
Like, you think about all the things that go into, say, a derivatives product right now, or just simple trading, and maybe you could actually cut a lot of that out if you were to use something like Ethereum blockchain?
Absolutely. Ethereum can basically rewrite the entire financial system and can cut out all the lawyers, all the bankers, all the escrow agents, all the back office to get something very simply done. And that is the power of Ethereum. And so
So that's kind of
imagine, okay,
scary to the establishment.
it is scary. It's one of the reasons why the establishment was very uncomfortable with this technology. They did not want crypto because they understood, especially Ethereum, they understood that this could replace their jobs. Basically, the financial system thrives on friction. What do I mean by friction? Whenever you move something from A to B, it takes out a little bit from the top. And there are a lot of people, lawyers and bankers and escrow agents and so on, that take a little bit from the top when you're trying to move money from A to B. With Ethereum, all of that is cut out with a simple programmatic language. And when you have that, of course, that's going to be a threat to the financial institutions of the world.
Okay, so here's another question. What about the programmers themselves? So, sure, okay, use the movie example. I'm going to raise $1 million for the movie, and we have some kind of deal in place that says as soon as I hit that, you're going to kick in another million, and it all happens automatically. If I don't need the
Right.
lawyers, et cetera, I still need like a really good computer programmer, don't I?
Well, it's not that complicated, but if I were a young person, I would certainly not go to law school. I would learn the Ethereum language called Solidity because that's the future. And so,
That's
you're going to have a
so
lot.
mind blowing. I mean, think of that. But you want the law school background so that you know how to write the law into the code, maybe.
Sure,
Maybe law
absolutely.
schools need to be teaching the Ethereum language too.
That's right. But the Ethereum language is far more simple than learning 1,000 or 40,000 rules and regulations out there and how to apply them and going to a court and drafting the contracts. Ethereum is much more simple than that. And that's why it's threatening to lawyers and bankers. By the way, I am a lawyer, I am a banker. When Ethereum was invented and I found out the power of Ethereum, I immediately co-founded an Ethereum company that did very well, ended up selling it. I basically abandoned my industries as lawyers and bankers because I know that in the future, these industries are going to be severely disrupted by Ethereum.
Amazing, amazing. Is there a hard wallet for Ethereum like there is Bitcoin?
There is, absolutely. You could use a ledger. These are ledgers. You just program it to, you just plug it to your laptop. In fact, you could
Whoa.
carry
Okay,
all.
wait. Hold that up again. Let me see if I can get a full shot here. Wow. What is that? That's the ledger.
Ledger, basically it's like a cold wallet. You plug it into your laptop, just a USB-C, the same connection you use for an iPhone, and you could store all your crypto in here, all your Bitcoin. You could even store billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin or Ethereum on a ledger without the need of a bank or a lawyer or what have you. And you could have it all in here, and you have what's called basically a password, these special passwords to access it. And once you access it on your laptop, you could transfer value, whether it's Ethereum or Bitcoin, to another cold wallet. And that's very threatening for banks because I'm basically moving value from one person to the other without banks. And that's the power of this
So the
technology.
FDIC doesn't like this, the, banking committees, like, I don't know, like some of them seem like they're coming around, right? We got a new head of the SEC and we've got Howard Lutnick as Commerce Secretary. So there's people there that I think, and obviously Trump is president, there are people in charge now that are going to represent a very different viewpoint when it comes to all this.
They're embracing technology. There was a time before cars were invented, there was a huge industry about horse chariots and horse carriages.
Yeah.
Imagine that industry was threatened when the Model T Ford was invented. And I mean, imagine a country we were living in where they were just against the car industry because they were trying to save the horse chariot industry. That was basically what was going on with the Biden administration.
Well, and it feels like that's what was going on with, the fact that you couldn't get a bank account, for example. And that your colleagues couldn't get bank accounts, and that this was just such a miserable, force to run into in terms of the regulation. I think back to the date, like 12 years ago, and Russ Ulbricht, right, with Silk Road, and the FBI. I think they put him away for life, right, and it's expected he'll get out now. And Charlie Shrem's another guy.
Well, it's not that complicated, but if I were a young person. Well, it's not that complicated, but if I were a young person, I would certainly not go to law school.
All right, we're having a little bit of a technical issue there, but I want to thank Sam Tabar. We will put the entire interview up for all of you to see, because we talked a little bit more there about some of the challenges that the crypto community has faced vis-a-vis Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, et cetera. But we're just at the beginning of so much, and there's so much that can happen because we have a team in place, thank goodness, right? Finally, that actually believes in the future. And so what could that look like? I mean, I don't want to wonk out too much on you guys, but I find this stuff so cool. And I know not everybody does, right? So we'll put it on a Bitcoin playlist for you on the Trish Regan channel. And I encourage you to go back. I think there's another 5 minutes left in that interview, and I want you to hear it all because it's really, really, really cool. And what he's trying to do is sort of mimic what MicroStrategy does with Bitcoin. They've effectively become like a treasury holding for Bitcoin, and he's trying to do that with Ethereum. It's really neat. Look, again, just to remind you, we told you about this over at 76 Research, 76research.com, my financial research company that I founded with Rob Horton. You can go to 76research.com. There's 3 different model portfolios that we have right now. You can get them all if you become one of the founding members. You can join Founders Club, get all the portfolios. You can subscribe to one of the portfolios. You can subscribe to the 76 report itself, which is just $1 a month for the first 2 months. Then it goes to $9.95. Anyway, you can see that we are pretty significantly beating the average. This is for the 3 months ending actually at the end of October, which now it's gotten even better, right? Because of everything that's happened since the election. If you just want to go get the free stuff, listen, we have a tremendous guide. We also have a bunch on Bitcoin, a bunch on Ethereum. We have the 76 Research Invest in MAGA guide, which is investinmaga.com. So I encourage you guys to go over there and take a look at that. This is all just, like, look, I think that we're in the beginning of something that's going to be pretty tremendous. And granted, the market's been on a tear. Bitcoin has been on a tear. And so you have to be thoughtful about sort of the appreciation we've seen thus far. But we get into all of that. So I encourage you, again, investinmaga.com. Another one of our favorites, of course, even at 76 Research, is gold, because it's just one of those things. In fact, in fairness, I'll tell you, I bought a little bit more for my own portfolio today. I do like gold as one of those sort of hedges in my portfolio to hedge against Armageddon, God forbid. I would encourage you to call one of our show sponsors. That's the folks over at American Heart for Gold, because you can get up to $15,000 off. Well, actually, just $15,000 of free silver. What am I saying? $15,000 of free silver with qualifying offers for new customers there at American Heart for Gold. You can go to trishlovesgold.com, trishlovesgold.com, or text Trish to 65532. So all really, really, really great stuff.